Chapter 30. Frequency of Love. The soul within you is universal, Yoshida reiterated. The souls of your friends and of others throughout the universe are also universal. Simply speaking, everyone's souls is one, and it's only our conscious mind that deviates. Then how can we communicate with our soul? I asked. To communicate with the soul, you must know which frequency your soul is using, Yoshida replied. Then, you calibrate accordingly the frequency of your conscious mind to correspond with that of your soul. According to the basic principles of energy, all things, from the smallest to the largest, emit one common vibration, which is the fuse and merge frequency. Translated into your language, this frequency of mutual cohesion ranges from bonding, combining, adding, fusing, clasping, loving, or simply, pure love. In short, love is the frequency at which all souls vibrate. Love, is that it? I was surprised. Knowing this, it sounds quite straightforward, doesn't it? Yoshida chuckled. We vibrate our conscious mind towards love at all times until it culminates and becomes the true essence of our conscious mind. On planet Tuangra, it is normal for everyone to vibrate their conscious mind towards love while being awake. But on Gaia, it's so hard for people to love one another, and that's why they cannot access the pool of universal knowledge. It doesn't sound too hard to love. Actually, on Earth, people are already vibrating with love, I said. It has to be a vibration at all levels of what we call universal love. As far as I can see, most humans on Earth can only vibrate at lower levels, Yoshida remarked. Love has levels? I didn't know this before. I was baffled. Of course, there are 4 levels, Yoshida revealed. What are they? I asked curiously. The first level is the easiest one. It is the love given to other beings who we consider to be inferior, or those who occupy a status that we feel is lower than us. For example, for someone who's not very wealthy, it is likely that empathy is evoked whenever he sees people or animals suffering or starving. It's easy for such a person to help. Another example, in the case of the various disasters that we just talked about, there are people who are willing to help those affected, especially after witnessing the hardships and predicaments of these less fortunate victims, Yoshida said and paused for a while before he went on. The second level is slightly more difficult, but it is still within the parameters of people's capabilities. It is the love for those who we consider equal to us, the people who we meet in our daily lives, such as our customers, colleagues, neighbors, or even the people with whom we share the same planet. But the truth is that love rarely exists at this level too. When people feel that they are being taken advantage of, we start to question about fairness, even over the most trivial matters. We ask ourselves why we have to submit ourselves and yield to them in order to love these people. This level of love is not too difficult to express, and yet we still struggle to master it, Yoshida explained. The third level is much higher and much more difficult. If the second level is not mastered, the third will never be achieved. This level requires one to love those who we regard as above us. There's a clear hierarchy in Gaia's society, and a widening gap between the rich and the poor. It is widely held that the rich are superior, have more possessions, live a better life, eat better food, have the means to buy better products, or own bigger houses. This makes it so hard for the poor to genuinely love the rich, or, In other words, to be happy for them that they have a better quality of life than they do. Let me put it this way, he went on. Let's say you have a child who has become very successful, has lots of money and is very wealthy. You would likely be happy with your child's success because you love him or her. How about the other children who are not yours? Will you not feel the same? What if you can't show happiness, but instead feel envious? You have not only deprived the child of your love but also shown your hate, which runs contrary to love, Yoshida said and paused again before picking up his explanation again. And finally, the fourth level, which is the most difficult one to achieve. Whoever has ascended to this level, the whole universe will regard him or her as a highly evolved being. Love at this level is the love you give to your enemy. In our world, there are people who had committed offenses against you, who you despise, and who can even irritate you just at the sight of them. How can you love them? Could you show that you can sincerely and unconditionally forgive them for what they have done to hurt you? Could you imagine the outcome if the people in our world can do that? Yoshida looked at me questioningly, but answered the question himself before I had the chance to respond. About 99.9% of them can't. Most of them, from ordinary people to devout priests and clergymen whose lives are pious and righteous, are not even capable of performing this act of forgiving and love. If there are any, the number of them can be counted with my 10 fingers. How do you know that we can't? How do you measure that? I asked. One indicator is the separation of religions, Yoshida replied. When religions are based on the concept of distinct separation, it essentially allows biased claims such as, "This is my belief and faith, and that's yours, hence, you do not belong." The paradigm of considering your religion to be more superior than others, the egoistic pride of being more righteous than others, all of these can only impose a desire to promote and defend one's own religion in many different ways. Erecting grander buildings and recruiting more members often escalate to a point where religion then becomes a competition to determine the superiority of each one's faith. With such a phenomenon, could this not be used as an indicator to adequately evaluate whether these religious leaders and their followers possess the love that is required at this level? Yoshida replied and gave me an intense look before he went on. This is only the basic principle of vibrating one's conscious mind to love. To become a highly evolved being, one must go through the processes that I've described, which also means to be able to act. To act. To act on what? I asked. There are 4 more criteria defining if you can act, he added. 4 more? I asked curiously. Yes, Yoshida said decisively. This criterion can be used to evaluate if you have successfully completed the process to become a highly evolved being. Whenever you encounter any situation, regardless of whether it satisfies or dissatisfies you, the reaction you show at that moment will be the judge. I will give you an example of a situation that affects you the most. Let's say anger, so that you can get a clearer picture. He continued, people who are at the first level of the hierarchy will often respond irrationally to anger. At worst, they will physically attack those who made them angry, or yell at them, or verbally abuse them. Both instances count as physical reactions, and these result in disharmony and hatred between the two parties. Energetically, both have emitted negative frequencies into the atmosphere, no matter how well the situation is resolved. The consequence is a shared resentment that turns into a mutual karmic contract between them. When both parties have triggered this karma that binds them together, they will have to seek the opportunity to reincarnate and meet again in their future lives to set things right again. This karmic contract is a major challenge which causes humankind to keep reincarnating for 10 or even 100,000 lifetimes. It is also a problem at the cosmic level because more and more souls are stuck on the planet Gaia. Yoshida concluded his point. Next are the people on the second level, who have evolved one step upwards. They still react to anger, but being more advanced, they do not physically react to it. Even so, the anger still exists within their mind, which also counts as an energetic expression. These people have already emitted energetically and polluted the atmosphere with negative frequencies. And these frequencies also create a karmic contract. We can also call this an energetic or mental karma,